Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to you, Ray.
Welcome,
Welcome
everyone.
everyone to the first event in a week of events for Are You OK Day. I'd like to thank Elise and the NHVR for their commitment to Are You OK Day. The theme for this year is Here to Here, so an extension on just asking if you're okay. I'd like to welcome especially Ray Simmons. He's from Ray's Fit in WA and he'll be our guest speaker today. And I'm now handing over to Michael for acknowledgement of country.
Thank you. Hopefully the slides just come up there for you all. Acknowledgement to country NHVR. The National Heavy Vehicle Regulator acknowledges the traditional custodians of the lands across the nation. We recognise the deep and lasting connection that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples have to the lands and waters across the country, and thank the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people for caring for the lands for over 60,000 years. We also pay our respects to the elders past and present, and to the emerging community leaders. We acknowledge that many of Australia's major road networks are attributed to First Nations peoples, having used star maps as waypoints on their journey through Australia's harsh terrain to reach landmarks such as watering holes. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you. Over to you, Ray.
Thank you very much. How are we? Hope everyone's going well. It's early for me on a Monday, but I think it's normal time for you guys over in Tasmania, right? You guys are Tasmania, right?
Yeah.
All over Australia.
SA and Queensland.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Also, don't be afraid to jump in and chat if I ask a question. I don't want to feel like I'm talking to a black screen. So let me share my screen and we'll get this underway. Also, during my presentation, if you hear a dog barking in the background, I do apologize. It's a little Jack Russell.
We're going to ask what kind of dog. Do we have a name?
It's called Ollie. I've got my dog in my room here right now with me
Yeah.
because he's a good boy. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Okay.
And we have Victoria online as well, so we've got all of our states covered.
Happy days. Awesome.
Morning.
I'm just seeing the attendees. I went from like 32 to 47 real quick, so that's really, really cool to see. Wonderful. All right. So thank you for having me. Really, really awesome to be here. Before I run into who I am, I'm sure some of you have already read through my little biopic that I was told was handed around. The reason I'm here, why I'm passionate about this, is because besides dealing with my own mental health and helping other people deal with theirs through fitness, nutrition, it's a scary number to think about. And as we can kind of see on screen, 2 in 5 adults experience a mental health concern each year. We don't talk about it. It's not talked about enough. And I think things like what we're doing today with Are You OK Day, Mental Health Month, I think is very, very good to move things in the right dial. And I think we need to keep doing that and pushing the envelope to see more of that as much as we can. I just want to make sure, am I sharing the right screen? Do you see it's just, is it just a slide on there, or because I've got multiple screens? Yep. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure. All right, so I'm going to be running through a little bit more about movement, nutrition, and how it all links with your mental health. So again, I appreciate all of you being here to hear me waffle on a little bit about training and nutrition, which is all stuff that we all know already. So welcome and thank you. So who the hell is this guy? Me. I'm Ray. I have been in the health and fitness industry for over 10 years. I've immersed myself in this industry. I don't really do much else outside of this. I've worked with a diverse range of people, from young to mature, to those who are fit, to those who are just starting their journey as well. I've seen firsthand in many different types of people, situations, just the profound effects that just lifestyle changes, nutrition, a bit of extra movement, really using the bodies that we have can have on our mental health. So what I do, I am the founder of RaiseFit. Yes, that is a play on words using my name, as in RaiseFit. At least I try to be, which is an online health coaching program where I look to raise the standards of people who trust me with their health and their fitness through tailored nutrition, training, and mindset coaching. I also have been working on, over the last year, an initiative, a clothing brand initiative called Heavy Happy Circles Club. I have had a bit of a sneaky peek on the little webcam previews, and I do see some people with some pretty decent looking arms. So I'm assuming some people do lift weights as well. So this is where Heavy Happy Circles Club comes from, is that we find peace, we find solace, we find clarity, in physical fitness, whether that's CrossFit, powerlifting, whatever it might be. We just find a lot of clarity, happiness. We can tackle life, through that. So today, my goal is to, in honor of Are You OK Day, Mental Health Month, is to bridge the connection between exercise, nutrition, and mental health. This topic, like I mentioned before, isn't just a professional one for me. It's also personal, as I have dealt with my own. I've seen friends and family members struggle with it, and having faced my own battles, my hopes is that by the end of this presentation, you'll have some tangible insights and tools to foster positive change in your own lives as well. So, first topic, let's go through a little bit about lifestyle. Let's begin by understanding lifestyle challenges and their impacts on our well-being. But I think with that word being well-being, we need to understand what that actually means. I had to Google this. The Oxford Dictionary defines it as the state of being comfortable, healthy, or happy. It's a holistic concept. It encompasses everything from physical, mental, and environmental aspects of our lives. So it's a bit of a cycle. My little Picasso creation here of a cycle of how it all interrelates. These pillars interconnect. A challenge in one area can ripple into the next area, creating a cycle that can either uplift us or pull us down. So I have also created a little bit of a story time here. Meet Bob. Bob's not real, by the way. Bob's a culmination of many of clients that I've worked with in the past. So consider Bob. He was once an active individual. He's about 50 years old. He now battles things like chronic back pain, attributing to his age. His desk job doesn't help either. This physical discomfort affects him quite badly mentally, leading him to seek solace in food and drink, and he starts to gain weight. You may be able to relate to this to some extent. You might be able to relate to certain aspects of this where it might be a stress or something like that that might stir you on to use food as a coping mechanism, which we'll touch on a little bit later. So Bob's self-esteem starts to drop. It affects his relationships and it affects how he treats his environment. One day, he has a severe anxiety attack, which he mistakes as a heart attack. But that's also his wake-up call. So change starts to occur. He starts to communicate better with his environment, meaning his partner, his family, his friends, his co-workers. He manages his stress better. He starts walking daily. He starts to make change. Over time, he loses weight, feels mentally sharper, and reconnects with his partner again, from which he had started to distance. A year later, he's healthier, happier, and even considers joining back with his local footy team. Now, like I mentioned, Bob is a fictional story, but it is a composite of real-life transformations that I have witnessed. What I hope today is to mitigate some of that for you guys, so you guys don't have to go through anything super chronic, scary, anything that might have to have you have that wake-up call. You might be able to see those signs early on. So, workplace challenges. This is something that massively affects things, and this can go from things such as your changes in your roster, long working hours, interactions with clients, interactions with colleagues, changes to systems, processes, or comprehending and implementing them. Now, with workplace challenges, there are things that we can control and there are things that we cannot control. And I think sometimes we can get these two things muddied up, or we tend to lose sight of just focusing on what we can control. And so I do recommend and implore you that you reflect on your own challenges and try to categorize them into forms of what is actually in my control and should I be stressing about them, and what challenges are beyond my control and should I maybe not pay too much attention to those things or put too much energy into them where it starts to affect other areas of my life. Moving on from workplace challenges, let's talk about personal challenges. So this could be things like your finances recently, mortgage rates going up and up and up and up and up, inflation. It could be things such as relationships, your partner, kids, family, friends. It could be health concerns like Bob. It could be even living circumstances, the house you live in, the people you live with, anything of that, right? All of these things weigh in on us, but in the same way, we can actually reflect on these challenges and we can also still categorize them in the aspect of what are we in control of and what is actually beyond our control. Now, with personal challenges, I think there is a little bit more that we can do to help organize this in a constructive way where we can take massive, massive control over this. And this is what I call the quadrant method. Another lovely little graphic I've put together for you. Screenshot this if you want, or actually I'm going to be putting together a handout that I will be sending through to all of you after this. And I will include this quadrant in there. And I think this is really important because I think where a lot of challenges come in our lives, which aren't actually challenges, is because we are just simply overwhelmed. And this quadrant has multiple times in my own life and people who I have suggested it to has helped organize our thoughts. Because sometimes we may have things that are not a priority that our brain will put in a high priority sense. So all this quadrant does is it puts everything, helps you categorize everything that is a high priority as up here as something that you need to do something about, you need to do it now, or you need to do it soon. Things that you can categorize into a medium priority, you can wait, you can schedule it, or you can do it later. And things that are down in a low priority, you can delegate because they fall into the non-important and non-urgent section here as well. So by using a quadrant method, it does help you organize it a little better. Another impact cycle. So as we saw earlier, our lifestyle can work in a cycle and impact each other. So can our nutrition, our physical, and our mental health as well. So it's important to recognize the overlaps between different areas of our lives and how that can impact things. A bad day at work can spill into our personal lives and vice versa. And recognizing this can help us break the cycle of stress and negative coping mechanisms. This cycle that is on screen at the moment, if left unchecked, can lead to a downward spiral, which challenges, which can lead to stress, which we can. Sorry, I'm reading my notes wrong. Challenges lead to stress, which we might cope with through unhealthy habits.
Ray, I'm going to ask you a question because you've asked for it.
Yeah, go for it.
That way you're just not reading. Is it all right? We've got quite a few shift workers.
Yes.
Are you going to talk through the impact of shift on this?
Yes, absolutely. I've got a slide on that coming up.
I think that would be beneficial. Perfect. Thank
Yeah.
you. I think that would be really beneficial for the staff.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I know I'm talking about having structure and stuff like that, and some people are probably going, yeah, but we do shift work and it's not going to work in that. I was like, don't worry, I've got a bit of a guide around that, which in the handout I'm going to send through to everyone. It's going to actually flesh out a lot more. So everybody should be able to hopefully put it into play as well.
Thank you, Ray.
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah, so these can all interrelate with each other and impact each other. You have good nutrition, you feel good physically, you start to think better, and vice versa. If you have crappy nutrition, you start to eat horribly because of a stress. You start to not have the best energy to do the physical stuff, which then makes you not feel too great mentally, yada, yada, yada. It rolls around in a circle. So let's talk about the nutrition first. Think of your body as a car. I'm sure most of us would like to think our body is like a Ferrari in that instance. The quality of fuel that we put into our bodies directly affects the performance that we have. So good fuel leads to optimal performance, while bad fuel can lead to breakdowns, of course. Similarly, the food that we consume affects our physical health, our energy levels, and crucially, our mental well-being as well. Now, accessibility does come into play around this as well. So accessibility will come into play in terms of like what our choices can be. In our fast-paced lives, of course, convenience often trumps nutrition. Fast food might be quick and easy, but it's often not the best choice for our long-term health. So what's the key? Well, planning and preparation, which I'm going to get to the shift work part in a moment. So planning and preparation is definitely going to be key, and having a little bit of foresight around what's coming up throughout the week, what type of shifts you may have coming up that you can best plan for as well. So having a little bit of foresight, a bit of planning can make a world of difference in terms of your daily food choices. Emotions too can actually influence your food choices. Many of us, I'm sure, can relate, have sought comfort through food through stressful times. These habits, often formed in actually our childhood, can actually be very challenging to break now as adults. It's not impossible. It just takes time. Instead of reaching for the sugary snack when you're stressed or overwhelmed, try implementing something a little bit healthier as well. And sometimes you won't get it right. Sometimes you do need to keep trying over and over and over again. But sometimes instead of going for the soda, you go for a water or go for a sugar-free soda instead. Or if you're noticing it is more of a stress response, a simple habit of stepping away, going for a walk, clearing your head before you just go for that knee-jerk reaction and reaching for food. Over time, as you keep trying to instill these better habits, they will overtake and they will become the new habit, and you'll stop doing the less beneficial habits as well. Alcohol. Yes, I had to touch on alcohol, and some people might not like me touching on alcohol, but let's talk about it. It is something that is deeply ingrained in our culture. It's often seen as a way to relax or socialize. While an occasional drink is fine for the most part, it's essential to be mindful of how much that we are consuming, because alcohol actually offers absolutely zero nutritional benefits to the body, and it can actually impact your mood long term, and it can impact your energy levels for days to come after. If you find yourself reaching for a drink too often, it might be time to reflect on the reasons that you do that and consider healthier alternatives or healthier habits with alcohol. We're all adults. We all like a good drink. Here's the fun part. This is the part that you're probably looking for, Jenna, as well. So how do we improve? Steps to improvement. So first, this is the first 6 kind of big essential parts here, which is find structure, establishing a routine for your meals. This is the part that I'm going to touch on a little bit more after this, because food is I'd say the big part, I assume, is the trickiest part actually for shift workers, because you're not going to eat at the same times. You're not going to have the same foods available to you, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to touch on this a little bit after this. Consistency, so finding routine and sticking to it as consistently and closely as possible. Thirdly, this is more of a what type of food improvement, which is to prioritize protein. So whether that's animal protein or plant-based proteins, a simple hack is to prioritize protein in there, as it's essential to keep your muscles healthy, and it's also important for things such as your immune system, your hair, skin, nails, everything. So if we prioritize that in our main meals, we're all good. Fourth is increasing your vegetables. They're packed with obviously essential nutrients. The other big benefit is that it fills a lot of space in your meals, so you are going to feel fuller for longer. Fifth, using an 80-20 rule. So a lot of the times I find, in my experience, when people jump into improving their nutrition for their health or their weight loss, is they go too hard too soon, and they try and be 100% of the time. I think that's a surefire way to fall flat on your face. Instead, I encourage people to follow an 80-20 rule. So 80% of the time, trying to shoot for very nutritious foods, such as things that are naturally grown, animal proteins, plants, whatever it might be, just things that haven't really touched human hands to be grown or created. While the other 20% can be treats and indulgences. So that's where maybe that slice of cake can come in, those few pieces of chocolate, that 1 or 2 drinks can come into the play. And finally, my sixth step to improvement is consider consulting a nutritionist or a dietitian for personalized guidance if you're still stuck. Often I find, again, people are afraid to ask for help around this stuff. So it's just seeking help around that as well. And when you find the right person who can be a coach and a professional in one of these fields, you've kind of hit jackpot there, because I think it is so much more than just being told what to eat. It's also being told or being helped work through what is helping, what is making you make those decisions with food, the emotional side, all that kind of stuff. So this is the special slide that I kind of put together a little bit here, and I'm going to elaborate this on the handouts that I'm going to email through to you guys. And this is building your blueprint, because everybody's going to be a little bit different at the end of the day. The blueprint is basically trying to make a plan, but making a flexible plan. So number one, find patterns. So with shift work, it can seem slightly chaotic when trying to form routine. So instead, try finding common patterns in what that shift work is. For example, you may have day shifts, night shifts, or you may have 3 or 4 different variances. To see what patterns you can find. It might not be perfect, but try and find those patterns. Once you find those patterns, you might find, like I said, 1, 2, 3, or even more patterns that you notice. Create a rough outline of what the ideal day looks like for each of those patterns. So, for example, down here, I've given a bit of an example there. You might have day shifts. So initially, you want to break that down into what time do you wake up for day shifts? What time do you eat? What time do you start and finish a shift? When do you get home? What time must you be in bed by for the next shift? And then do that the same for what other patterns you have found as well. When you do this, you start to have multiple plans that you can easily insert into any given day, depending on the type of shift that you might have, rather than trying to think of it on the spot, which is where the overwhelm and I guess where pieces start to fall apart. Third point is be flexible. Anything can change in the blink of an eye. So be flexible. The best plan is a flexible plan. And more often than not, your day will go to or close to plan. And even when it doesn't go to plan, you're definitely better off if you didn't have a plan at all. So be flexible with that as well. Again, I'm going to elaborate on this a little bit more for you guys, and I'll send you through some slides that you can actually work through, a bit of a cheat sheet that you can work on as well. Okay, the boring stuff of nutrition is over. Let's talk about the fun stuff of exercise. As time progresses, we know that our bodies reflect our habits, right? If you've ever felt that you're not as strong or as agile as you once were, consider this. Have you actually maintained the activities that once made you feel vibrant? It's never too late to start or restart getting back into activity. This is something I hear a lot, where people are, oh, I used to do 100 push-ups every single morning. Now I can't even do one. It's like, okay, well, start somewhere. Start doing kneeling push-ups. You know, it's if you could do something before, maybe it's time to restart doing those things, and considering why you fell off in the first place. Often, in my experience as well, the biggest hurdle to exercise is our mindset. We get trapped in the thoughts of what we can't do or what we used to do but can't anymore. Instead, focus on what you can do right now in the present. What can you do today? Even small, consistent actions can actually lead you to significant transformation over time. So If you used to be able to run 10Ks, well, maybe right now all you can do is go for a 5-minute walk. Start with that. In a couple of weeks, soon you're doing a half an hour walk. A couple more weeks, you're doing an hour walk. Now you're turning those hour walks into 30-minute runs. And over time, that gap of where you used to be or where you want to be and where you are right now starts to shrink. So don't let your mindset, or what I call the mental goblin, stop you from getting started at all. In terms of recommendations, this is a common question I get, is how much should I be doing? I honestly think we need to start a step earlier than the health recommendations, which is start with what you can do. But based off health recommendations, it is recommended to do 150 minutes per week as a target, which if you break that down is only 20 minutes a day. And this is basically anything that is going to elevate your heart rate, anything that's going to make you move, elevate your breathing rates, you get a little bit of a sweat brow going on. That's the type of exercise you want to try and do. A simple leisurely walk isn't going to do anything. But if that's where you need to start, then that's where you need to start. Activity types. So this is where another question comes into play of what exercise should I be doing? What is best for me to do? Should I be doing cardio classes, lifting weights? What should I do? I think you need to, as much as I love lifting weights, I think you need to do what works best for you at the end of the day. If that's yoga, if that's running, if that's classes, if that's swimming, whatever it might be, you need to do what you enjoy and what you can do right now. Because if you enjoy what you do, you're more likely to stick to it long term. I know for me, if someone told me to go and run each day for 20 minutes, I would probably tell them to go stick it where the sun don't shine, because I don't like running. I'd rather pick up heavy objects. If you fall into the category of being unsure on where to start or feel a little bit overwhelmed because maybe you haven't been to a gym before, that's okay. Again, consider seeking guidance, a personal trainer, a fitness class, or even online tutorials or an online coach can actually be very, very beneficial to help bridge the gap or help you waste less time instead of going through and trying to figure it out yourself and losing time that way and potentially injuring yourself. A coach, a trainer can actually help you bridge that gap and not make those same mistakes. So let's move on to mindset, because this is why we're all here for Are You OK Day at the end of the day. Our beliefs at the end of the day do shape our thoughts, which then shapes our actions. This guy's a handsome looking fellow, isn't he? This is Descartes. I'm probably butchering his name. He is a renowned old Greek philosopher where he mentions something cogito ergo sum, which is I think, therefore I am. And I think that's very, very powerful, because if you think you can do something, you will do it. If you think you can't do something, you won't. And I think this is where we might lose things sometimes. We tell ourselves we can't do something enough. Now, I think a big factor that influences that too is our environment. So our environment, our lifestyle choices, they do influence our mindset very directly. When things are going well, we feel motivated, we feel driven and ambitious. And conversely, challenges can lead to low motivation and a constant search for fleeting pleasure through food, through alcohol, whatever mediums. Your gut can also connect to how you feel. And so really, if you've got poor digestion, poor gut health, that really does come back down to your nutrition choices. A healthy gut can actually lead to a healthy mind. Consuming your nutritious foods more often can actually provide things such as your sustained energy, which can lead to long-term positive feelings. While, of course, on the other hand, if you're going more towards the fleeting side of seeking pleasure through food, you're going to be left feeling drained and perpetually seeking more and more short-lived comforts as well. It's kind of like that first time you have one square of chocolate. You have that one piece, and the next time you have it, you need two, and then you need four, and then you need a whole block to get that same feeling again. Exercise plays a part in terms of how you feel good because it releases endorphins as well. I'm sure most of us know this already. So the feel-good hormone. So regular exercise can help you sustain that feel-good feeling, a positive mindset, better health, of course, and overall a better well-being. And in contrast, seeking comfort in unhealthy habits can actually lead you down a vicious cycle of temporary relief, followed by prolonged negative feelings, which is what we don't want, right? Now, in essence, our mind, our nutrition, and our exercise choices are deeply interconnected. Can't speak today. A positive change in one can actually ripple into the next and into the next and into the next, whether that's a positive change or a negative change. You have a positive mindset, you're probably going to eat better. You eat better, you're probably going to feel like you want to maximize those efforts and exercise better. You exercise better, it releases endorphins, your mindset gets better. It can go the opposite way, it can go in many different directions, but they massively, massively link. And hopefully by now you guys kind of see a little bit that your environment is a massive cycle, your nutrition, your mindset, and your exercise is a massive, massive cycle, and everything is interplayed. You can't just tackle one and be massively successful with whatever that goal is. You need to have all three. So the wrap up. I recommend people reflect on these four main areas because these four areas, like I've mentioned before, they cycle together, they interrelate, they influence one another. You're not going to be able to tackle mindset on its own if maybe these are not taken care of. You cannot tackle lifestyle if these are in chaos as well. So they weave together, and we need to be able to address one another. But I do have a recommendation on where to start. Because if we make change in one area, it's like setting off that first domino. It just starts to cascade down and down and down, making a bit of a chain reaction. So my recommendation is to start with your mindset. Challenge negative beliefs. Practice welcoming more positive thoughts. That can be the harder route. And visualize what you want to become or who your best self is. From there, you can start to find a bit more balance. You don't have to go extreme with the nutrition. So balance that with an 80-20 rule. Find out what that 20% of fun is and plan that into your day and into your week. Exercise. Find something that you enjoy, do it consistently, and do it well. Mindset. Practice your positivity, meditate, journal, gratitude, connect with others. And lifestyle, of course, just overall self-care. Make time out for yourself. Sometimes we can make the excuse of we don't have time for self-care, to go get a massage, to just stop and breathe, to smell the roses, so to speak. I think this is super, super important. And I've been guilty of it too, where I just do not stop sometimes. And it is something that we definitely need to do more of. So remember, it is not about perfection at the end of the day, but it is about progression. Small, consistent steps can lead to a transformative result. Think better, be better, eat better, move better, and repeat that cycle. I encourage each of you to raise your standards, elevate one aspect of your life at a time, and watch that ripple effect as it has on the rest of your life as well. Thanks for attending my TED Talk.
I have one question for you, Ray. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping that everyone else has had a chance to think some questions.
Thanks for that, Ray. That was great.
Thank you. Someone says thank you. I'm sorry, Ray. I should say thank you. I was just trying to make it more engaging because I know you want questions and I hate talking to people without questions.
Yeah, go for it.
Often people know what they have to do, but they don't do it. What do you think is the key thing that starts that trigger, that cycle of change?
Great question, and actually something I speak to a lot of people about, because we all know what we need to do, and even if we don't, we have this extension of our life. Actually, I'll stop sharing my screen actually quickly. There we go. So we have this little extension of our life, which is our phones, right? So we can very easily quickly Google what we need to do, even if we didn't. The part that I think really comes down to, it's not a case of lack of action or anything like that. It's a lack of accountability. We suck at self-accountability as human beings. I'm a coach, and I will 100% put my hand up first and say that I also suck at self accountability. Um, you know, I crave ice cream just as much as the next person. I love a good hamburger and I can smash a whole pizza myself. Um, I know sometimes, even with the lowest motivation, I don't want to go to the gym. Um, but it's about finding that accountability. And for me, my accountability, as an example, is my clients. I don't want to be giving advice to people when I can't walk the walk myself. So if someone knows what to do, or then I have a plan of where to start, but they don't have that spark to get the ball rolling, I would say is to put some skin in the game, whether that's investing in a coach or investing in a plan or a program or a class or a gym, and start there, or find an accountability partner
I
to
was
help
going
you with
to
it.
suggest that, Ray, particularly
Yeah.
for these crews when you're out on the road, knowing that. And I'm going to share a little thing that I did last week, which is, I'm fessing up to my own stuff, right? I'm not a morning person. I think most of the organization knows this, Ray. I'm not a morning person. I'll talk late at night to anyone and I'll keep working, but I'm not a morning person. And I asked one of my friends, how do you get up earlier? Because that's sort of a goal I want to crack, right? My kids are getting older. I can get up a little earlier. And he said, well, you're going to have to text me. You have to get up half an hour earlier for a month. You have to text me and there's a punishment if you don't, right?
That's brilliant.
So I'm doing some of that stuff and I find that they're not connected to work. This is a personal goal that I've got that was really hard to voice out loud. And the first Wednesday I tried to do it. He sent me a message at the end of the day, you didn't text me, right? So the idea that someone's watching makes a difference for most people.
Yeah.
And the other good thing that I'd recommend to anyone is the concept of, it's called the book called Atomic Habits. And it talks about habit tracking and just small little changes that really do make a difference. 1% every day adds up to like 360% better at the end of the year. So just those small little things based on how you want to be. Right? If you see yourself as someone who is fit, you're more likely to do things that create fitness. If you see yourself as someone who's mentally healthy, you're more likely to do things that are mentally healthy.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. It's the common, again, going back to why people I think don't start at, like you asked, Jenna, is I think we either don't know how to keep ourselves accountable or don't know who to ask to keep us accountable, or like what I mentioned back a couple of slides was we are comparing to an old version of ourselves and just consistently reminding ourselves of what we cannot do. And so that creates that vicious repeating cycle in our brain of I can't. If you're told something enough, you're going to believe it. So it's about changing that, and instead, as uncomfortable as it might be, or as weird as it might feel to sit there and be like, I can do it. I can, wake up earlier. I can go to the gym. I can eat better. I am, a fitter version of myself. I've got one client who he's 110 kilos now and he's dropping weight consistently, but he is envisioning himself to be 93 by November for his daughter's wedding. And he has actually, every single call, he starts that call off with me going, I'm still that 93 version of myself at the start of November. He's already got that vision like ingrained in his brain where he believes he is that version of himself already. And by doing so, I think that automatically creates habit and change in what he does and how he holds himself on a daily basis. Yeah, sure. Physically, right now, he's still 110, but he believes he's 93. Does that mean that the weight just magically falls off? No, I wish that could happen because everybody'd be, in fantastic shape. We'd snap of a finger and we'd be great. But the belief system is a massive, massive thing because he has gone from not believing he could be that or look his best for his wedding, his daughter's wedding, to now believing he can. And for the first time in years, he's consistently dropping weight. And I think that's the first starting point there. Whether you see results first early or not, it's you have to change that. Because if you consistently wake up each morning and tell yourself, I'm weak, or whatever that negative self-talk is, I'm overweight, my clothes don't fit, or I'm tired and stuff like that, then you start believing that. You can't change that. It's very hard to fight.
I think we think that we are time poor or that we'll get to it later or we tend to think of caring for others first over ourselves, Ray. And I think there's a fair degree of selfishness required in order to do self-care.
Yeah. I'm sure everyone hopefully here has been on an airplane at one point or another. What's the first thing they tell you if the plane is going down and the oxygen masks drop? Put your mask on first before attending to others. Yet in everyday life, when we take it for granted that we can just just breathe, we just don't take care of ourselves first. It's not selfish, I don't think, in a negative way. It would be more selfish to consistently neglect yourself and not show up as the best version of yourself for the people that you care about the most.
You've got a lot of people online. I'm wondering whether or not the Vic crew has a question, if we can sort of do some of the bigger teams. Vic, we've got South Australia, we've got Tassie.
Yeah, don't be shy, don't bite. Everybody's
Thanks,
shy.
Christy.
Yeah, I was just going to add that over the course of my working career and typically doing shift work, my main focus was to ensure that, if I was getting up at 8 o'clock at night, that I had my breakfast, which was technically a tea, but to try and maintain some sort of normality in my life to ensure that I could get through those shifts. And it could be a week or, 6 days or whatever it is of those shifts. So it's about, life doesn't stop, but it's about making sure that you consciously make an effort to look after yourself. And it is about making sure you do get the rest when the time is there. Life demands are what they are. I think it's really important to, first of all, make sure you maintain a healthy diet where you can. And you do need, even if it's 10 minutes of the day out for you, just to gather your thoughts and set yourself back on track, because if you're not right, you can't help other people, and it really does suffer in other people's worlds as well. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ray. It's been informative. Thank you.
Not a problem. I love what you said just there as well about finding normality as well. I think, again, we forget sometimes to have like an anchor, something that grounds us. We might, okay, I'll give you an example actually to put this into context. Every time I've written a nutrition plan for a client, I'll always ask them, what's your favorite treat food? What's the thing that is like the bane of your existence that throws you off track? Recently, a client of mine was like chocolate coated Scotch fingers. I'm sure many people would relate that that's very delicious. And I was like, okay, cool. And to them, he's written that in his questionnaire, and he's probably thinking that like, okay, once every 2-3 weeks, I might give him a few to play with. And that actually wasn't the case. I actually managed to allocate 4 Scotch fingers into his actual daily meal plan. And he looked at me and he was like, what is this? Why is this in here? I'm trying to lose weight. And I said, no, this is something that you do on a daily basis already. If I take this away, I'm removing your anchor. If I remove your anchor, you fall off track. If I can give you these now and I can say it's okay, whether you have them or not, you're going to have a better time. It's been 3 weeks. He's had them maybe 2 days.
Yeah.
So it's having that normality. That could be, like you said, like it could be the simple tea first thing in the morning. For me, it's coffee. Again, lots of people could probably relate to that. But it's what is your thing that keeps you grounded and makes you still feel like you're just having a normal everyday life, and it might fall into that 20% of the 80-20 rule. It doesn't really matter. You've got to make it unique for you. Who cares what other people might say, if it's against the norms of healthy nutrition or whatever it might be.
Yeah, it's also about understanding how your body operates too.
Sure.
Like once I hit that fatigue space, and I know I'm fatigued, my body craves junk food, salt, sugar, and that is my warning sign that I need to do something about what I'm suffering. I see others have got questions, so I'll leave that one. But yeah, no, it's certainly something you really do need to be in touch with what your body needs, and everybody's different, you know, so,
Absolutely.
yep.
Thank you for sharing. Michael?
Hello, Ray. It's Wendy.
Hello.
Hello. I just wanted you to talk about the importance of protein and the best times for protein.
Absolutely. So importance of protein. Let's start with how much you should have. I would say try and have at least 2 main servings of it a day. And if you don't want to be pulling out the scales or anything like that, just a fist. If you can have 2 fists of protein, whatever that is. So, for me, a fist is the equivalent of 2 to 3 eggs, or, a decent sized 300-gram steak or a chicken breast, things like that. If you're plant-based, that could be legumes, beans, tofu, things like that. Excuse me. So at least 2 fists is what you're looking for. If you're much more vigorously active, like you lift weights, 3 to 5 times a week or more, then you want to have a little bit more protein as well because you need that for your recovery. In terms of timing, for the average person, doesn't really matter. But I would still recommend trying to have an even spread of it throughout the day. So upon waking, make your breakfast have some form of lean protein in it. So eggs, Greek yogurt, smoothie if you're in a rush. Don't be afraid about protein powder either. There's nothing wrong with it. It's made from milk. It's natural. It's just a very, very easy, convenient way to consume it. So if you can't sit down and have like a steak, for example, or a chicken salad or whatever it might be, if you can't stop and eat, but having a shake is easy because you can put it into a shaker, have it sit in a cup holder, and away you go, then that's fine. That's absolutely fine to have. But it's where you can, you want to try and have actual solid food in that case. So yeah, a fist of protein per meal. If you have at least 2 meals with that in there, don't be afraid of protein powders, and if you can, have an even spread of it throughout the day. Don't bunch it all into one meal, at the end of the day or at the start of the day. Having an even spread will help regulate your blood sugar levels, your energy levels. It'll keep you fuller for longer as well. And by having it regularly, you're going to have a higher likelihood. Oh no, I said blood sugar levels. Sorry. So you're going to have a higher likelihood of maintaining your blood sugar levels, and you're not going to really feel too hungry, snacky, that kind of stuff throughout the day.
Thanks, Ray.
Do you want to introduce Justin next?
Someone else has their hand up. Is it Justin?
Yes, hi. Thanks, Ray. I really enjoyed your presentation. I just got one question. I think that it can be a bit of an art form, but when you get it right, it can be very powerful. Do you have any tips for effective goal setting? Because I think that this is an important part of maintaining that strong mindset.
I love that. You're absolutely right. It is an art form. And I think that it does come down to a little bit around your personality type, what you like, what you're like as a person in terms of how you set your goals. I'll share with you. I'll add this to the little cheat sheet that I'm making for you guys in terms of goal setting. For me, what I like to look at is every aspect of my life, and I call them pillars. And I'll set 1 to 2 goals per pillar. So I try to look at it as I've got my fun stuff, I've got my professional stuff, I've got my personal growth stuff, and then I've got like side hobbies or something like that. So fun stuff for me this last year was go skydiving and go for a second holiday this year. I've done the holiday, I haven't done the skydiving yet. For professional, it was getting a promotion, building up my Heavy Happy Circles Club business. Personal growth was hiring a physique coach and hiring a business coach. both of which I've knocked both of those out as well. So for me, I do a lot of goal setting based on aspects or pillars in my life, and it's usually linked to something that's important to me. This then leaves me with like somewhere around like 4 to 8 goals for the year. And to some people that might seem like a lot, but the reason I have that many is because I believe also that throughout the year, you'll have different demands based on what's going on in the year. For example, setting a fat loss goal in the middle of winter is incredibly difficult for most people because they want to be comfy, they want to eat comfort food, stay warm. It's raining outside. I can't go to the gym now. It's like, yeah, but you drive a car, so you can go to the gym. So there's more excuses that pop up in winter. But whereas when summer comes around, everybody's outdoors. Everybody wants to go out. Everybody wants to start getting into shape all of a sudden when it's already time to be in shape. So it's understanding where you're going to have more success to put the pedal to the metal, so to speak, for different types of goals throughout the year as well. So yeah, it's a bit complex for me to kind of explain here, but I will include it in the handout for you guys as well in terms of how I go about it and how I like to set that goal in terms of who are you becoming as well and why. You're not just setting arbitrary goals of, yeah, I want to lift a certain weight or something like that. It's like, how is that contributing to the end goal or the best version of yourself as well? I hope that helps.
Thanks, Ray.
Yeah.
Ray, it's Stephen in Adelaide. How are you?
Good. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks. Just want to say thanks for the presentation. I think we're all aware, it's in the back of our mind about this sort of thing and about the importance of the balance. But I find it's very easy to become the mouse on the wheel that just keeps running and running, and you don't take that time. So I think there's real value in refreshing ourselves and reminding ourselves of the importance of having that balance in what we do, and particularly in taking time for ourselves to unplug. I refer to it as unplugging the head.
Yeah.
Whether it's going for a walk, whatever it's doing, just to get some fresh air in the brain and de-stress from what's going on. But thanks for the presentation. Really good.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Okay, is there any other questions before we wrap? No? Okay, Ray, I'd really like to thank you today for your valued time and your fantastic insight today. Very much appreciated. And
Thank you so
thanks
much for having
everybody
me.
for attending and tuning in. Hope everyone's got something from today. Thank you, Ray.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for that,
everyone.
Wendy. Thanks, Ray.
Thanks, Ray.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.